After a huge success in Washington, Trump eyes Chicago. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Trump eyeing Chicago as he targets blue cities with his tyrannical idea of making them safer against the wishes of the lunatics who currently run them. Today, the president signed an executive order designed to end cashless bail, an absurd idea that became popular during George Floyd's summer of chaos. The president's order removes federal funding from any jurisdiction where no cash bail is still in practice. The White House looking for any way that they can think of to force deep blue cities to become safer against the will of those that operate them. Tonight, Washington, D.C. nears 2 weeks without a murder. That is astonishing. They used to get one about every other day. And an incredible decrease in violent crime as well in Washington. It is amazing how fast this has worked. It's amazing how fast the city's gotten clean and safe. It's a tremendous success story. And a young rapper has gone viral for a clip that he posted bragging that he can finally wear his ice around town again. Take a look.
They said FBI, DEA, ICE, it's all that outside in Washington, D.C. I don't even got it on my shoulder no more. I'm walking around with this. I ain't hiding none of this. I'm walking blocks with this.
And we've seen a lot of praise from real people that live in Washington, people that aren't indoctrinated by the ideology of the left. And with that, the president is now debating sending National Guard troops into Chicago as well, a city that has become more dangerous than some of the worst third world cities around the world. Take a listen to the boss.
We like clean, we like beautiful, and we like safe, and that's what we're getting. We will solve Chicago within 1 week, maybe less, but within 1 week we will have no crime in Chicago, just like we have no crime in D.C. They kill people and they get out. Cashless bail. They thought it was discriminatory to make people put up money because they just killed 3 people lying on a street. Any street all over the country, cashless bail. We're ending it, but we're starting by ending it in D.C.
Real indication of how far Chicago has fallen. Arrests have only been made in 16% of the 150,000 reported crimes this year. Why wouldn't you commit crime? The criminals have carte blanche. Chicago's South Side is one of the most dangerous places in the world, and the mayor and city leaders offer nothing but hyperbole and nonsense and lies and gaslighting. They feel no pressure to actually improve quality of life, as the Democrat Party has built a bulletproof apparatus that keeps them in power regardless of how bad it gets. This is why we see such staggering incompetence in some of our biggest cities, because they can't lose. No matter how much they screw up the city, they can't lose. In many cities, the stupidest resident is the person who runs it. Chicago is a prime example of that. And the residents have to suffer through it because the Republicans don't vote, the Democrats just automatically win, and their primary gives you the biggest idiot in the party. Many convinced that crime and misery must just be a part of the experience of living in a city. That's how people feel. Oh, it must just be like this. This must be how it has to be. It's not. And as Chicago's leaders brag about their meager progress in fighting crime, most of which can be attributed to the tricks that they play with the numbers, the locals in Chicago give us the real lowdown.
The National Guard has to come here, even if it's for a scare tactic. They have to come here. There's no control. There's no law and order.
Today, you hardly see a police car in a neighborhood. It just seems like crime is really out of control right now.
This is becoming way too normal in this city. And while some of the stats are down, that doesn't matter when 2 people were killed next door to you.
We have a rule, like on weekends, we don't walk here. We'll just, like if we go, we'll go to West Loop or whatever, we'll Uber, and then we'll Uber home.
The whole neighborhood is just sick of people coming into the neighborhood and acting like they can just come ravage your stores, take what they want to take, and then they try to make you feel like you're wrong for defending your property.
There you go. That's the reality of living in Chicago. Real people living there. There's no way to conceal that with statistical trickery. Today, Chicago's mayor, though, Brandon Johnson, and the governor, J.B. Pritzker, sounded a lot different than the real people that actually live in that city. They held a panicked news conference because they are absolutely mortified of losing their federal funding.
We need the federal resources to make sure that we're building more affordable housing, expanding mental and behavioral health care, education, all of these things that could reduce crime and provide real community safety. We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
Moron parade in Chicago today. Arresting people for crime won't stop crime, and it's racist to do so. I wonder why they have such an issue with crime on the south side of Chicago, because they've actually indoctrinated the residents, so many of them, to believe this. We need to give people free houses to stop them from committing crime with federal money. How terrifying that this is a fairly mainstream political theory in this country, one that's been tested on American cities all over the country in recent years. Today, Illinois' governor said if Trump cared about reducing crime, he wouldn't be cutting funding to violence prevention programs for trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on the streets. J.B. Pritzker is talking about the guidance counselors that these people all want to send out to replace cops. He actually said that today with a straight face. And then he said this.
This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab. His proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Mr. President, do not come to Chicago.
Do not make my city safe, because it will cost me terribly politically. They are mortified of what would happen politically if Trump cleaned up Chicago and the South Side was suddenly no longer littered with dead black kids. They're terrified of that. Their entire party's approach for years to law and order has been that more cops, more security, more arrests does not work. If their city sees that it does work and it works quickly the way it did in D.C., they are doomed. It would be the end of Pritzker's presidential ambitions. It would be the end of Brandon Johnson's political career. So they respond with this kind of talk.
We're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people in this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. And if that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this city.
Tyranny. You know what's tyranny is only having one political party as a choice, which is what most of the people in Chicago have to deal with. They had Lightfoot. Lightfoot was a total idiot. And somehow they replaced Lightfoot with a bigger idiot. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Who thought that after Lightfoot went out that you'd get Brandon Johnson? That's tyranny. Tyranny is having no options, no choice. That's Chicago. That's most blue cities. You got one party to choose from. The other one doesn't really exist. Tyranny is cleaning up the city, lowering the crime rates. The real danger to Democrat politicians is not more crime in their jurisdictions. It's actually less. If their communities become safer using a tactic that they have vilified, which is more cops, more security, it will be a political earthquake for them. It's happening in D.C., and it could end their stranglehold on the black vote and on these big cities once and for all. Today, Stephen Miller detailed the scam that was pulled in Washington to give residents the illusion that the left's insane policies actually do make people safer. Take a listen to this.
We've uncovered, in the process of uncovering, a massive scandal in Washington, D.C. with the doctoring of crime stats. And the Department of Justice, under the Attorney General, is leading the effort to uncover this. But when we ultimately share the results, it will stun you. The extent to which, even though D.C. had the worst crime in America, honestly measured, it dramatically understated how bad it was. There's even accusations that murders and homicides were reported as accidents instead of murders. I mean, this is how severe the manipulation of the crime data has been in this city.
All right, Danielle Carter Walters is a South Side Chicago resident. She's also the co-founder of Chicago Flips Red. And Danielle, good to see you on the show. Your mayor, Brandon Johnson, said that the people of Chicago are going to rise up against tyranny if the president makes any moves to try and clean up your city. How do you think people in your neighborhood are going to respond if that happens?
Well, we have had 4 mass shootings in the span of 1 month. One of those mass shootings, we had 14 people shot, 4 people lost their lives. Also, we had senior citizens with the other mass shooting, shot, lying in the streets bleeding. So how is it, wait a minute, let's not forget the gentleman that was robbed and murdered on Facebook Live just a week ago. So for this mayor, incompetent mayor, and let's just be clear, he's inciting a riot. So I think he needs to be arrested for that. Because remember, they said President Trump, because he said go peaceably protest, he incited a riot. So that's what he's doing. So listen, we are tired of our kids and family members dying in the streets. We are tired of looking over coffins of our family members. Enough is enough. We're tired. I
can't even fathom. But the whole narrative around this from the other side is so ridiculous. I mean, they are acting like there is no problem, and that this is some kind of a power grab by the president to try and send troops into these cities just to make them livable again, and to have. I don't understand how these politicians have the audacity to pretend like there is no issue. What you just described is chaos. I mean, you're living in a city that is far more dangerous than many major third world cities around the world. And it's Chicago, Illinois. I mean, that's the craziest part about it.
Listen, we're known as Chirac.
Chirac.
Chirac, yes. And what do Brandon Johnson and Pritzker? They have no solutions. Well, yes, they do. They have soft on crime policies. You know, the Safety Act and the no cash bail.
Yeah.
That's all they have to offer us. And let's not forget the manipulated fake numbers that they're giving you, talking about crime is down. Crime is not down. Crime is probably down for Brandon Johnson because he has 150 police detail that's, police detail. So, crime is probably down for him. So let's ask Brandon Johnson, since Chicago is so safe and crime is down, why don't he get rid of that 150 police detail that he has and walk around with no police details? He should be feeling safe since that's what he wants us to do.
The solutions to this are unbelievable. What they proffer as solutions, what he thinks is going to control violent crime, basically like let's have therapy sessions to help people get over trauma in their lives, so that'll make people less violent. This is what was offered by his campaign. I mean, it sounded like he was a kindergarten teacher that decided I'm going to go try and run a major city and treat everybody like a 5-year-old. And hope that they won't commit crimes. That's how they handle crime.
Right. Well, you know, he's a failing. He was a failed social studies teacher, so that's probably where he's getting that from. And also, he wants us to have social workers. So let's get rid of the police, defund the police, and have social workers. I want to see him do that. Let's start with him first. Yeah. Like I keep saying, get rid of that detail, put a bunch of social workers around him, and let's see how that works out for him in Chirac.
Chirac. Danielle Carter Walters, we appreciate you coming on as Southside resident. Thanks for staying tough.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Sebastian Gorka handles counterterrorism for the White House, joins us now. The president using one of the best levers that he can find, I guess, to try and control the lunatics that control our major cities, which is to cut off their federal funding. Places like Chicago, where somehow they get into power and they don't care at all about the quality of life of the people that live there.
Yeah, these cities are money pits of taxpayer funding paid for by you, me, and all your viewers. And it's a very simple question. If you don't want to be on the side of the citizens of your city, if you prefer to be on the side of the criminals, the illegals, the members of MS-13, then there will be federal consequences, including financial, for you endangering your citizens. It's really, look, you know this, Rob, it's common sense.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I think there could be a huge payoff here to show people that live in these places that you don't have to live like this, that it's not just part of living in a major American city, that it has to be dirty and dangerous and really awful for inner city residents. It doesn't have to be this way.
It doesn't, and the bottom line is we're not even doing anything new. If you go back to what the greatest mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, did in the late 80s and early 90s, this has been proven before. If you come down hard on the small-time crimes, that has a knock-on effect for the murder rates, for the theft, for the grand larceny, for the carjackings. And the bottom line is, if you actually practice law enforcement, then people become safer. Yeah. But the Democrats don't want to live in a world of common sense.
No, they don't. No murders in D.C. since the federal takeover. You're coming up on 2 weeks here without a murder in D.C., which is unheard of. Here's Stephen Miller, your colleague earlier today.
They can use the parks. They can walk on the streets. You have people who can walk freely at night without having to worry about being robbed or mugged. They're wearing their watches again. They're wearing jewelry again. They're carrying purses again.
There was a video that went viral on Twitter. It was a rapper, a black kid walking through the streets of Washington, and he's showing off his watch, and he's saying, "I haven't been able to wear this down the street in a long time." And he's got his watch on, he's got his jewelry on, and he's walking down the street, and he's just like, it's finally safe in this city.
And what the most beautiful thing is, Rob, when you see the people who live here and the tourists taking selfies with the National Guard, with the ICE and HSI agents. Why? Because they're happy. This is the nation's capital. You should be able to walk here freely and safely, and they want to say thank you to those men and women in uniform.
Yeah, I want to switch topics before I let you go. The president hosting the Gold Star families today, the service members lost at Abbey Gate. A proclamation was signed. Tomorrow is 4 years since the Abbey Gate bombing in Kabul during the Afghanistan pullout. 13 service members killed during that humiliating loss for our country, that withdrawal, which was just such an embarrassment to the country. And obviously their loss was so terrible. What was signed today? Tell us about what you saw.
So this, after this horrendous event that shouldn't have happened, that disgraced Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin called a perfect retreat from Kabul, finally a White House, a president, issued a proclamation for the 13 men and women, our brave service members who were murdered that day needlessly. And I was honored to be in the Oval. The president said this is the biggest group of individuals, of private citizens he's had in the Oval. He signed that proclamation to remember those brave warfighters. And let's not forget what the mainstream media won't tell you. I was on the call with the president 41 days into this administration when we brought home the mastermind behind the Abbey Gate bombing and presented him in handcuffs at Dulles Airport so that he will pay for his crimes forever. That is a promise kept to those Gold Star families, because we will find you, and if we don't kill you, we'll handcuff you and put you behind bars forever.
And there was a lot of talk about the accountability for the people that botched this so badly, and those at the top of the Biden administration that caused all this pain. Sebastian Gorka, good to see you. Thank you.
God bless. Thank you, Rob.
After a raid on John Bolton's home, all of Washington says now the DOJ is being weaponized. Roger Stone was caught up in the Russiagate probe. He joins us after the break.
I read it just like you did. I was never a fan of his. I thought he was stupid. I thought he was, you know, a guy that only wanted to go into war. He liked killing people.
Are more raids like the one on John Bolton's house coming?
More raids? I don't know. They raided my house, I can tell you that. They did a big raid on my house. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They started that. They went into my wife's area. They went into my son's area, my young son. And what they did was a disgrace.
They started it, as he said. All of Washington right now is screaming that the DOJ, that our government is being weaponized after John Bolton's home was raided. These same people defended the most egregious weaponization this country has ever seen. And now, as the Trump DOJ retaliates, where's Trump's mugshot on there? There he is, at the bottom. As the DOJ retaliates, only now has it become a problem. Never forget, they are the ones that started all of this. This has never happened before in this country. Plenty of criticism of what's happening inside the Trump DOJ right now. Much of it coming from outlets that cheered on these same tactics when Trump and his colleagues were the targets. J6 committee members Jamie Raskin and Adam Schiff, two of the fakest out there, are furious today. Here's how they sounded back then when it was happening to Trump compared to now.
The wisdom of the Constitution's founders is vindicated by all of these events that I'm looking at. It's dubious, and it's obviously a radical departure from our tradition of having independent law enforcement under the Justice Department and not having political coordination between the White House and DOJ.
Anyone in the intelligence community that had documents like that marked top secret SCI in their residence after authorities went to them, you know, they would be under serious investigation.
I think this is clearly retribution. They're essentially going after any critic, any opposition in an effort to intimidate them.
Yeah. They never thought Trump was actually going to be able to get back into the White House, but he did.
How did it work out? Oh, I see. We're in the overall. Oh, I guess it didn't work out too well for him, did it?
Roger Stone was one of Trump's close allies, targeted as part of the Russia hoax. His house was raided early morning, January 2019. CNN was waiting there. They got the tip. Stone ended up receiving a pardon from President Trump, and he joins us now. Roger, good to see you again. It might be retaliation, feels like retaliation, but again, they own the original sin. They started it. They did this first.
It is neither retaliation nor it is revenge. It is a recalibration of the scales of justice. Hearing these liberal whine is extraordinary. John Bolton possessed classified documents that he took after he left government service that he's not legally permitted to have. There is a legitimate probable cause for the raid on both his home and his office. Unlike Donald Trump, who under the Presidential Records Act was fully entitled to have whatever document he wanted. By the way, the judge who said that was Judge Amy Berman Jackson, who ruled that Bill Clinton could have any classified document he wanted, and Clinton kept those documents in the sock drawer of his home in Chappaqua. So, look, you can always tell when Adam Schiff is lying. His lips are moving. Yesterday, he was denying that he was guilty of mortgage fraud when he called his home in Burbank, California, his condo, and his home in Potomac, Maryland, both his principal legal residence, getting a tax break in both states, getting a lower mortgage rate in both states, getting a lower insurance rate in both states. Many, many, many Americans are prosecuted for that kind of mortgage fraud, but evidently Adam Schiff says it's all made up. No, what was made up was the Russian collusion hoax. There was no probable cause to raid my home. They told two federal judges that they suspected me of conspiracy against the United States, treason, counterfeiting, money laundering, aiding and abetting a conspiracy before and after the fact, and unauthorized access to a government computer. Once they got my emails and my text messages, they could find no evidence whatsoever of any of those crimes. So they invented the fake crime of lying in my voluntary testimony, the House Intelligence Committee, about Russian collusion that never actually happened. How do you lie to cover up something that never happened? It's not even possible. So, yes, I think it is completely appropriate that John Bolton be raided.
A recalibration.
Because there's a probable cause.
Yeah, a recalibration. That's an interesting way to put it. I want to show you a couple things I think you're going to be entertained by. Here's Chuck Todd writing that the virus killing democracy right now is this two wrongs make a right mindset. Revenge over principles. What's interesting to me about that tweet is that is Chuck Todd, the former host of Meet the Press, casually admitting that, yeah, the DOJ was weaponized under Biden. If it's two wrongs don't make a right, then he's admitting that what happened to Trump was wrong after denying that it was weaponization for years, as he did while hosting Meet the Press. And then over on CNN, you have Abby Phillip complaining about this weaponization as well, after always telling her audience that there was no proof that the DOJ was weaponized against Trump. Take a listen to this.
This idea that this was a weaponized, these were all these different prosecutions and all these different jurisdictions were not all directed from one place. There's absolutely no evidence of that. You guys can tell me what evidence you have of that, but I've never seen it, and I've never heard anybody actually voice it.
The Obama and Biden administrations didn't politicize the DOJ? And
okay, who? If you are making the claim that this was directed by some kind of big puppeteer at the top of the pyramid, who is that person?
So how did the IRS only go after conservative groups?
But they didn't, though. And why you're not answering my question. Who is the person?
I know, right?
Who are they?
So there's no proof that there was a conspiracy against Trump. But now Abby Phillip at CNN totally believes that there's a conspiracy against John Bolton and everyone else. Isn't that interesting?
Look, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, in a stunning series of declassified documents has proven beyond any doubt whatsoever that the entire Russian collusion hoax was born in the Oval Office, that it was at the direction of Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, with the active involvement of Susan Rice, John Brennan, the CIA director, James Comey, the FBI director, Rod Rosenstein, the acting attorney general, Robert Mueller, the non-compos mentis special prosecutor. This is no longer conjecture. This isn't investigative journalism. These are their own documents, their own words, and she has proof that Hillary Clinton approved it all in advance. And as for who directed the weaponization against Donald Trump in 2024, I'll answer her question. Merrick Garland. That's who. We have overwhelming proof of it. So what you have here is a continuing seditious conspiracy that begins in 2016, continues into 2017, continues during the 2020 election, takes you all the way to 23 and 24 with the raid on Donald Trump's house, which means that grand juries can be impaneled in Florida, as well as D.C. and New York, and these people can be brought to trial someplace outside the District of Columbia, where they will never get a conviction against any Democrat.
That's exactly right there. Roger Stone, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rob.
Another ridiculous judge gives the Maryland dad a break as white liberals fall all over themselves to lobby and sing for a criminal.
Let him free, let him free, let him free, let him free.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, you've heard his name.
The government is determined to push, apparently, Kilmar Abrego Garcia out of the country.
Abrego Garcia was taken back into ICE custody.
In this video with his family just before he turned himself in. Now, depending on what happens today, he could be deported to East Africa.
How ridiculous the media has gotten. This is the new media darling. An illegal alien wife beater charged with human trafficking, facing deportation to Uganda because the Trump White House doesn't screw around. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the white liberals gathering in support of him outside the ICE detention facility in Baltimore this morning, where they held up signs. I mean, look at the people that do this. I mean, these people need a life. They chanted his name, they gathered around him for a prayer, and then came the cringiest part when they all decided to sing.
Let him be, let him free, let him free, let him free, let him free. Free Kilmar!
These are the white liberal hippies that Stephen Miller was talking about last week, right? Don't we have like an island in the Caribbean that we can put all these people on and just let them run around naked? Kilmar addressed the crowd through a translator and then started crying. He doesn't want to go to Uganda. I'm shocked. After that, he turned himself in to be processed for deportation, but his lawyers, I think, knew what would happen next. Right on cue, Obama-appointed Judge Paula Zinnis issued a 2-day stay of removal, meaning Kilmar can't be deported until at least Thursday. And we'll see what happens then. Lauren Biss is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Media Relations at the Department of Homeland Security and joins us now. These Obama judges, Lauren, are the most powerful entity in the country, I think.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You know, we constantly, every single day, are fighting against activist judges that try to stop us from fulfilling the American people's mandates to deport criminal illegal aliens. And we've seen that here with Kilmar. But President Trump and Secretary Noem have taken strong action. They've arrested this individual and made sure this known public safety threat, a gang member, a human trafficker, someone who has solicited child pornography, a wife beater, that he is arrested and he is no longer a threat to the American people.
What you just outlined to me is, again, it's another one of these moments where you think, how in the hell have so many people gotten behind this guy? How does he have all of this support? He has support from senators, Chris Van Hollen, who had the margarita with him and had lunch with him, trying to console him. I don't understand how warped the mentality is and how warped we've become on immigration. I mean, 15 years ago in this country, both political parties would be saying this guy needs to be out of this country and all the illegals have to go with him.
You know, I totally agree. You know, this would be laughable if it weren't so disgusting.
Yeah.
Senator Van Hollen had margaritas with a man. Meanwhile, his constituent, Rachel Moran, was murdered by an illegal alien, led into this country by the Biden administration, and we don't see him ever say anything about the victims of illegal alien crime. Where are these people for Rachel Moran, a real Maryland mom, someone who would be here today if it weren't for the reckless border policies of the Biden administration? It's
terrifying. The narratives that have been created around immigration by the left is just terrifying. Lauren, thanks so much for coming on. Good to see you. A year in prison for burning the American flag. Up next.
When you burn the American flag, it incites riots.
Welcome back. Executive order signed by the president today, seen as a move against the First Amendment. Here's the moment.
Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. When you burn the American flag, it incites riots. If you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. The people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people that are, in many cases, paid agitators. They're paid by the radical left to do it.
So it would go around the Supreme Court decision from 1989 that decided destroying the flag is protected political expression under the First Amendment. There's a lot of opinions on this. For one flag burned, you're going to serve 1 year in prison, is what the president is saying. It sparks the controversy, but before you form an opinion, let's just think about something for a second. Remember that there are some flags in this country that are far more protected than our own national flag, which I would think would be the most protected. In 2019, an Iowa man was charged with a hate crime and arson and sentenced to 15 years in prison for burning an LGBTQ flag that belonged to a church. And you do that, and then you see that is prosecuted constantly. Burn the gay flag, and they go nuts. The pride flag, they go nuts. Even spin your tires on their stupid little things that they put in the middle of the intersection, they go nuts. That might make you think differently about it. Joining me now is Katie Zacharias, Senior Advisor for Fix California. Tudor Dixon, host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. Ladies, good to have you both. I want to get just your opinions on this. Katie, your thoughts on the executive order.
I love it. President Trump's doing exactly what Americans want to happen, which is to not see our national flag desecrated on and burned in front of us. And so I think what he is doing is going to ameliorate many situations where people feel outraged over the flag burning.
Yeah. Tudor, go ahead.
Look, I can understand the other side of the argument because I think that there is an argument to be said that we want to know when people disagree with the government, and there are times when we disagree with the government. We want to be able to disagree with the government, and I think there's some fear that if this happens, then the next president could come in and take away the ability to speak against the government. So I do understand the people who are on the other side of this issue.
Yeah. It's funny because no matter how angry I've gotten when we've had awful governments in place, and we've had a lot of them in the last 15 years, I've never wanted to burn. The flag to me was always bigger than the government. I never looked at Washington and thought that was our country. I feel like I feel like that's just a clown show, that the flag represents a lot more than just Washington, D.C., the miserable Washington, D.C. I want to get to some more topics here, guys. Katie, Trump hitting on crime on the uber-wealthy west side of Los Angeles today. That's your neck of the woods. Take a look.
Beverly Hills is, a great place. Friends, they leave their trunk open for their car because they know they're going to be vandalized. They don't want the trunk ripped off in order for them to steal what's in the back. Stars, big people, they leave their doors open so the doors aren't destroyed by these criminals. All over Los Angeles, this is taking place.
So he's picking this, law and order fight with a lot of different places. Los Angeles, he hit today as well. We had Lionel Richie, who is like one of the most famous people in Los Angeles. He's been famous for 40 years. He's got an incredible house in Beverly Hills. He was home at the time on Friday when somebody tried to get inside of it to steal his stuff. I mean, if you're not safe in what I assume is a $50 million house in Beverly Hills, Katie.
Yeah, Rob, my home was broken into in Brentwood and we left. Brentwood is just adjacent to Beverly Hills. Beautiful area near Santa Monica. Broken into, took the cops 15 minutes to get there, told them the guy didn't have the intent, told us he didn't have the intent to burglarize our home. The truth is, what President Trump is hitting on is that we are not safe in our homes in Los Angeles because the mayor and the governor of our state and our city have completely decimated the police force and not allowed them to do their job. This isn't that the police don't want to do their job, is that they don't have enough of them and they're not able to, and the criminals know that. So they'll go after someone like Lionel Richie because they become brazen and enabled by our government.
Yeah. Tudor, Adam Schiff, currently under investigation for mortgage fraud, asked about gerrymandering on the Sunday show. Take a listen to this.
Democrats offered the legislation in the last session to eliminate the gerrymander in every state. The president is deeply unpopular, one of the most unpopular presidents in history. Of course, the only way they feel they can survive the midterms is by redrawing the lines in Texas. California is not going to stand for this. We will fight fire with fire.
So I thought the best part was what he said, that Democrats had offered to get rid of all gerrymandering because they know that if this war ever got to where it's getting to now, Republicans have a lot more that they can do. So they gerrymandered the hell out of their states, and then they just prayed that Republicans would never do the same. And now that it's happening, what did you think of that answer, Tudor?
I just think it's the most bizarre response. It's like, we hate this. We've done it for years. Now that the Republicans are going to do it, we don't want it to be done, so we're going to do it even worse. I was like, what is that? How can that be your argument? We're going to make them pay for it. Look, he's in California. He doesn't have to appeal to the American people. I think it's great because it just tells me that the Democrats continue to have no message. Now they're trying to say, because Texas might have some extra House seats, Donald Trump is a bad guy, and I just don't think that's going to get them more wins come 2026.
It is so funny. Katie and Tudor, good to see you, ladies. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Southwest Airlines, are they targeting the fat flyers? That's next. Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. We're starting with Southwest Airlines changing a long-standing seating policy that the plus-size people aren't going to like too much. Starting January 27th, customers who encroach upon the neighboring seats, as they put it, should proactively purchase the needed number of seats prior to travel to ensure that the additional adjacent seat is available. Basically, what's happening is Southwest is now saying that if you need an extra seat for the rest of you, that's not free, and that there's very little chance that you will get a refund unless the plane is to some extent empty and there are seats that were not taken on the flight, which these days, as you know, if you travel, is not happening anymore. So a little update there from Southwest Airlines. Next up, Tim Walz says if only Kamala Harris had won.
Tell you, the privilege of my lifetime was stand beside someone we know was the most qualified and would have been a fantastic president in a President Harris. We wouldn't wake up every day to a bunch of on TV and a bunch of nonsense, we would wake up to an adult with compassion and dignity and vision and leadership doing the work.
Can you imagine thinking that Kamala Harris was going to be any of those things? She probably would be on TV less, though, so I guess he'd have that. She probably would never be on TV. Next up, New York communist mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani made a big boo-boo over the weekend. He tried to show off at a Men's Day event, but he's not a man. He attempted to do a bench press. He couldn't do a single rep of 135 pounds, which is the bar, and I believe a 45 on each side. Yeah. He ended up doing 2 reps assisted and made a total fool of himself, which I'm sure is nothing unfamiliar to the silver spoon socialist who wants to destroy New York City. Next up, left on left pandemonium is always fun. Canada's capital, Ottawa, holding the annual Pride Parade there. Cover your eyes. Unfortunately, this one, or I guess maybe fortunately, this one didn't last too long because they had another group protesting. Queers for Palestine showed up. Yes, Queers for Palestine ended up blocking the route near Parliament Hill, forcing the cancellation of the Pride Parade because in Canada, Muslims outrank LGBTQ in the hierarchy of victimhood. And that's important to remember if you ever go there. You have to know who's the bigger victim. And finally, stand your ground, staying strong. I like this story. A Texas homeowner fatally shooting and killing 2 men that posed as police officers serving a warrant, and they started opening fire on the house. Houston police say the men were wearing masks, bulletproof vests, had badges around their necks, but the homeowner was suspicious because he couldn't see any cop cars outside. And they said they had a warrant, but it was just 2 people masked up. No lights, no anything like that. Homeowner unharmed, blew away the 2 bad guys. No charges have been brought because he lives in the right state. Can you fathom if you did that in New York? They'd find some way to put you in prison for 30 years. All right, the painful reality of the trans agenda up next. Finally tonight, just some of the damage done by the trans agenda in this country. Recent report from UCLA's School of Law, the Williams Institute, roughly 2.8 million Americans now identify as transgender, and those are 13 years or older, now identify as transgender. That's 1% of the U.S. population in that age group that thinks that they are a different gender than their body. Transgender people tend to be younger than the overall U.S. population. More than 75% of trans people ages 13 and older are under the age of 34, which clearly shows you that there's something else going on here. And this is all part of an indoctrination that is happening. Very young, confused people are being fed this information. They're looking for something to cling to, and this is what they get, and this is the damage done. Infinity's next. We'll see you tomorrow. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.